Mr. Yehor Bralian is a security analyst and associate professor of international relations at the Kiev Aviation Institute. Professor Bralian is now joining us live from Kiev. Professor, welcome to WION The World is One, and it's good to see you, albeit in this trying moment for Ukraine. I'm receiving reports that the death toll in Sumy is on the rise so far. 34 people have died. But let's put that aside for a moment. President Putin and Russia, despite the talks continuing, is actually ignoring calls by Trump to cool it down and allow for room for negotiations. Why do you think he's escalating the war, especially after his conversation with Trump?
Good evening, thanks for having me. Well, first of all, Putin and Russians, they don't care how many Ukrainians they could kill, and today's attack on Sumy is a clear example that it's a war against Ukrainian civilians, and Russians want to kill all Ukrainians or subjugate all Ukrainians. And regarding Putin and Trump, Putin is simply manipulating the American president, and Trump repeats the narratives of Russian propaganda. However, we have seen that Trump continued for 1 year more the economic sanctions towards Russia, and Putin doesn't want a peace, and Putin wants to continue this war of attrition against Ukraine, and it's a genocide of Ukrainian nation, because Russian occupiers, they kidnap Ukrainian children, they kill Ukrainian civilians, women, children, different groups of Ukrainian society, and
Professor Bralian, Professor Bralian, let me ask you this then. We've been hearing calls that President Volodymyr Zelensky wants Europe and the President of the United States of America to pressure Putin. If he continues with this call, this is not the first time that he's made this call. This is not the second time that he's made this call. It's actually the 5th time that he's made this call. Who and what can pressure Putin to calm down?
European countries and NATO countries, they can put more pressure on Putin and Russia by strengthening more sanctions, and by telling, like, you will face a trial in The Hague, and Russians kill Ukrainians because they are sure that there won't be any accountability for them. And I'm talking not only about Russian dictator Vladimir Putin or Russian officials, but also Russian soldiers who commit these war crimes. First of all, sanctions. Secondly, more military support for Ukraine, more joint production of armaments, and the world community must do everything in order to make the Russian Federation a pariah, because Russia doesn't feel as a lonely country, and there are some countries which provide Russia with military support. First of all, it's Iran and North Korea. China is trying to be more neutral. However, we know that China is providing Russia with non-lethal support, and the international community remains silent. Yes, there are some statements, but we want to see more actions rather than statements.
All right. Mr. Yehor Bralian, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for making time for us today.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.